Without waiting any further, let us begin with our next panel and the faculty panel with the esteemed faculties associated with the leading pharmacy and management colleges in India. And they will be talking about patient-centric approach in the pharmaceutical value chain from drug discovery to marketing or drug commercialization. Although I know the names need no introductions, but for the sake of protocol, let me introduce our esteemed panel here. We have with us here Dr. Atul Nasa. Dr. Atul Nasa has worked as the head of the Office Controlling and Licensing Authority and Deputy Drugs Controller with the Drugs Control Department, Government of NCT of New Delhi. He has more than 37 years of professional experience, including 30 years of experience in the enforcement of various pharmacy-related acts and rules. Apart from all this, he is also a member of the Drugs Consultative Committee, DCC, and other committees of the Government of India constituted from time to time. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Dr. Sandeep Narula, Director, Pharmaceutical Technology Management, SPP, SPTM, NMIMS University, Mumbai, spearheading B Pharma plus MBA and M Pharma plus MBA integrated programs of SPP School of Pharmacy and Technology Management, NMIMS University, Mumbai, responsible for the entire business vertical, including growth, business development, ranking, and excellence in all the designated areas. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here today. Next, we have Dr. Sunil Kanwinde. Dr. Sunil, after completing the PhD from University of Bombay, joined pharmaceutical industry and has been associated with industry since 1986. He has experience in development, technology transfer, and in manufacturing and packaging development of various dosage forms. Along with that, he also has managerial experience in plant management in German Remedies Limited, Merck, and now Ranbaxy for two major plants in India, and is also experienced in regulatory audits from FDA, EU, and Visa, PMDA, Japan, and KFDA. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing us with your presence. Then next, we have Dr. Tanjul Saxena. Dr. Tanjul Saxena is presently working as a professor and principal at Mahatma Gandhi College of Hospital Administration, a constituent college of Mahatma Gandhi University of Medical Sciences and Technology. She has a total of 29 years of experience that encapsulates over a decade of corporate exposure, in addition to teaching, training, and consultancy in the realm of management. Dr. Tanjul Saxena possesses a world view of interdisciplinary education. She has 3 anthologies, 2 books, and about 40 papers and cases to her credit in the realm of education and management. Thank you so much, Dr. Tanjul Saxena, for joining us here today. Also, we have Ms. Sanju Yadav with us. Ms. Sanju Yadav is a seasoned pharma professional with 18 years of progressive experience in sales and marketing. She has managed brands and businesses in a wide range of therapy across leading MNCs and Indian companies like MSD, Alembic, Pfizer, Merck, Cipla, and so on. She has expert-level mastery in marketing and is a lifelong learner and passionate about human potential. She is currently freelancing as a business consultant and serving as a visiting faculty at NMIMS. Thank you so much, Sanju ma'am, for joining us here today.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
I'm so humbled to be introducing all of these dignitaries, and I express my sincere gratitude to all of you for joining us here for this event. So the topic for discussion today that we have is patient-centric approach in pharmaceutical value chain from the drug discovery to marketing and drug commercialization. And my first question would be for Dr. Tanjul Saxena. To set the context, ma'am, can you please highlight what juncture of patient centricity is in the pharma industry today? with other industries, and please highlight the reason for the same.
Okay, thank you. So, very interesting question to start with. When we were preparing for this session, I happened to research, and it was very surprising for me to actually come to realization of this fact that not before 2017, the patient centricity was actually defined properly by a group of people which constituted caregivers, patients, pharma company. So if you look at this, 2017, we are just talking about half a decade ago. Now, very surprisingly, patient centricity has been in the area of health management or health world for pretty long. We have had, patient satisfaction as a topic of research by several scholars. But when it comes to the pharma domain, it is only about half a decade or maximum a couple of years farther down the lane, not in a very structured manner, that we started talking about patient centricity. Now, if we dig deeper, it's very interesting to understand that there are three stakeholders primarily for when we talk about patient centricity. One are the, of course, patients or the caregivers or whosoever is the decision maker of the patients. Second is the pharma sector. And third is, of course, the ecosystem in which this operates. Now, the moment we look at, the evolution of patients or evolution of decision makers in the pharma industry, we need to be very humble about this fact that digital pioneers, that is Generation Y, and the digital natives, that is Generation Z, is increasingly emerging as a decision maker compared to the digitally struggling and challenged generations like X and baby boomers. And obviously, the digital world consumers or the decision makers, they seek the same level of convenience and personalization from biopharma as they seek from other industries. So on the front of the patients or the caregivers, you will understand, or people who make the decisions. One is, this movement towards the paradigm shift towards more technologically advanced decision makers. If we look at from the pharma company point of view, pharma companies after a long time have come to this humble acceptance that patient-centric value chains are not analogous to patient-centric products. So their attention from just the product has gone beyond both sides, vertically, horizontally, upside, downside, left side, right side. So it's just not about the product delivery that they are talking about, the product as such, but beyond that. And when we talk about ecosystem, again, all the actors have now understood that there's influence of multi-factors: the disease burden, product type, product life cycle stage, treatment type, region, among others that are available. So, yes, we rose very late to the idea of patient centricity in pharma, but it's not very late still. The momentum for change has been building. Conditions are now perfect. And certainly, ambitious and fundamental reshaping of the outdated processes is due. And we can become more empathetic, impactful, human, and truly patient centric if we seriously consider all the factors and start working towards it. Well, over to you, Gauravi.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that wonderful insight. And now we'll move forward to the next question that is directed to Dr. Abdul Nasser. Sir, can you please tell our audience what are the various acts regulated in our country related to healthcare and patient safety? And what are the different acts pharma company must adhere to while thinking about healthcare and patient safety?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gauravi, for a nice introduction. And I welcome each and every participant to this webinar. And I'm also thankful for inviting me as a panelist. See, my experience into regulations for 30 years. We know that in our country, we have got drugs and cosmetics, which are being manufactured by the pharma companies and cosmetic industry. We have got medical devices, which is a very upcoming field nowadays. We have got diagnostics and so on. And in regulations, we have got different acts. Very first act, which is to be implemented and to be followed by any, pharma company, whether it is a formulations or API industry is Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 and rules 1945, which are being, modified from time to time. We have got medical devices rule 2017 now, which are being effective from 1st of January 2018, which are well in force. For cosmetic industry, we have got cosmetics rules 2020, which are now well in place. We have got Drug and Magic Remedies Act, that is called Objectionable Advertisement Act. We have got Drug Price Control Order. We have got Narcotic Drug and Psychotropic Substance Act 1985. And apart from that, we have got Clinical Trials Act. Now see, India is the pharmacy of the world, everybody knows. In any of the profession, I was just listening to the young speakers just before this, our program. They were talking about e-pharmacy, which is a big challenge. And everybody has given a wonderful presentation on e-pharmacy regulations. What are the issues related to e-pharmacies? What are the challenges what e-pharmacy has been facing? And I just for an information, I was the member of the committee which was being constituted by Government of India to frame e-pharmacy guidelines along with other 5 state drug controllers. It was a big challenge. So apart from that, any pharma industry, whether it is a drug industry or a API industry or a cosmetic industry or a medical devices industry or a diagnostic industry, they have to follow all WHO GMP guidelines, which are being well in place in the Drug and Cosmetic Act. And it is a big challenge. But on the other side, our country is exporting a huge number of drugs and formulations to the entire world. And we have seen that during the COVID time, when second wave started or first wave started, our pharmaceutical industry has played a very important and vital role. Starting from hydroxychloroquine tablets, PPE kits, life-saving COVID management drugs, including remdesivir injection, including tocilizumab injection, including amphotericin B, which was meant for mucormycosis and black fungus, and then all vitamins preparations, including Ginkgovit, then ivermectin. Everybody worked very hard. My salute to total pharmaceutical industry. They worked very hard, and I can simply say that India is the pharmacy of the world. But regulation says the main mission of any of the regulation or the FDA or drug control department is to provide safe, efficacious, and quality medicines to all the consumers at the affordable prices. This is the main mission of a drug control department or the regulations in our country. So regulations which are being monitored at the central drug control level and which are being monitored at the state drug control level. Both departments, Central Drug Control Department, CDSCO, and State Drug Control Department at all the state levels are working jointly, but with the different functions. So I will not go in detail the functions of State Drug Control Department or Central Drug Control Department, but main mission of both the departments are providing the safe, efficacious, and quality medicines. And on the other side also, as a regulator, we expect from the pharma industry and the other relevant industry to follow all the guidelines which are well in place in our country. Thank you.
So much, sir, for that information. And my next question would be from you only, sir. What can be the role of regulations to ensure patient-centric treatment?
Very relevant question. See, like I have told you in my previous submission, that the role of the regulatory body is for providing or ensuring the availability of safe, efficacious, and quality medicines, whether it is a medicine or a medical device or a cosmetic or a diagnostic. So to ensure this safety to the patients, what patient want at the end of the day, a proper treatment. And at the end of the day, he wants that the medicines, whatever he is getting from the pharmacies or whatever the medicines he is getting from the pharmaceutical industry or whatever the medicines are getting from the retailers, they should be the quality medicines. So as a regulator, each and every state drug control department, including the central drug control department, are trying a regular checkups on routine basis by lifting the legal samples and the specimen samples and the survey samples and sending these samples to the government laboratories and to the other testing laboratories for the quality issues. There was an information that in our country, a lot of spurious medicines or counterfeit medicines are available, and a percentage of these medicines are on the higher side. But later on, National Institute of Biological in 2018, they did a survey, and there was an information that only NSQ drug that is called not of standard quality drugs are only 3 to 4%. So this is called a faith in our system. This is called a faith in our pharmaceutical industry. Why our medicines are well accepted all over the world? Because they are the quality products. So as a regulator for the patient safety, it is the utmost duty of a regulatory department to see that whatever the medicines are being manufactured, during the manufacturing process, during their transportation process, during their storage process, and during their dispensing process, the samples are to be drawn and they are to be tested at a regular interval so that the patient confidence is to be maintained. Now, if you see the legal samples, which are as per the Drug and Cosmetic Act under Section 23. Now, legal samples, once you draw legal sample from any of the pharmaceutical unit or from any of the pharmacies, they are sent to the government analyst. And if the samples fails, as per the Indian pharmacopoeia requirements or as per the British pharmacopoeia requirements or as per the USP pharmacopoeia requirement, as per the labeling provisions. So action is to be taken against that pharmaceutical company or the person who has supplied not of standard quality drug. And that is the main issue. And then sometimes what we see that once the samples are being sent to the government laboratories for the analytical purpose, sample passes the test as per the pharmacopoeia requirement, but on the other side it is a counterfeit medicine which is being manufactured by somebody else, not by the original manufacturer. So in that cases, specimen samples are also drawn particularly on the complaint basis. And the specimen samples are being sent to the original manufacturers with the request to verify the genuineness of the product, whether it is being manufactured by their company or not. So issue is sometimes sample passes by the government laboratory, fails by the original manufacturer, stating that it is not our product. Reason being, if you see the chemical analysis and the physical parameters, if I take a tablet, it is a strip form. So once we are taking a strip of a tablet, the physical parameter, font size, labeling, that ink which we have printed is to be identified by the original manufacturer, which is not possible at the government analyst level. Government analysts only do the chemical analysis as per the Indian pharmacopoeia specification. But physical parameters are being identified by the original manufacturer by comparing them with the original reference standards. So this is a big challenge. But I am very happy to tell you that in our country, quality of medicine, though it was sometimes discussed at a various level, it is an issue, but for patient safety, for patient centric, we have to provide quality medicines, and India is providing quality medicines. And I'm very confident that our medicines are being accepted by all over the world. And even during the COVID time, we have exported a lot of medicines to the entire world, including hydroxychloroquine tablet, including the all COVID management drugs. So my only submission is, let us join hand. It is on both the sides, whether it is pharmaceutical industry or it is a regulation. Regulator should not act as an officer or as an inspector. He should be just like a facilitator. So once you are going to any audit to the company, or once you are going for any inspection to the pharma company or relevant company, you just try to facilitate them. The fear should be away. The result will be automatically very good. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much for that very informative discussion. And okay, so now we'll move forward with the next question. The next question is for Dr. Sandeep Narula. Sir, can you please explain? In the pharma industry, everybody is talking about digital marketing. how is it going to help the patients and support patient centricity?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Gauravi, for raising this question. I think it is an absolute pertinent question, especially when we were in the pre-COVID period. We used to discuss about that how digital interventions are going to help in the patient and how the patient centricity will become the center stage. So after 2 years of experience, I think we have learned a lot that what actually the digital interventions are and in what way it is supporting the pharma industry, which are the services beyond the pill. So for this, I think it is very important for us that first we should understand what is the digital patient journey. We know what is the physical journey, but in case if we want to understand the role of digital marketing, that what actually is the role of the digital marketing in the patient centricity, then I think it is very important for us to understand what is the digital patient journey. And for this, I will request you that kindly allow me to share my screen so that I can share with the participants that what actually the digital patient health journey is. So let me share. Yeah, so I was talking to you since I was sharing also that how actually the digital patient health journey can commence, and these are the so immediately she asked her voice assistant, maybe Google, which is the Google assistant. So here this lady asked from the voice assistant that what are the common causes of this rashes on the screen, and this voice then she churns out some eczema, dermatitis, or maybe poison ivy, or maybe allergies. So all these results which are there primarily because of the search results which are there, which has been generated by the Google, which is again a digital marketing tool. Now, once all these things are there, and immediately the voice assistant asks that should I raise an appointment with your family physician or maybe with some leading derma? She says yes, please to raise my so automated schedule system starts working. What we see also that she gets an appointment also with her family physician. This is the point contact number 3, and then she had an appointment. So want to reach to the family physicians. Her week Uber. This is the digital addiction point number 2. So she booked a ride and she reaches to the doctor. Now, once she reaches to the doctor sees her and tells her that primarily these are the reasons that you have to take these type of medications. So, also this doctor conducts an allergy test. Now, when she is going back after showing the doctor, then she receives a report online when she is in the cab, and then she comes to know that primarily there are some rashes and the doctor has written a medication. So this is now point number 5, where through the portal app she is downloading the report, she is reading the report, and then so she is sharing through the video chat and through the images. Primarily, it is the development of the disease, sharing with the physician how it is recovering also. So this is the point number 7. The point number 8, when she makes a video chat and the doctor advises her again that since primarily there is a latex which you are using, if you ignore this, then this can be subsidized further. So this, if you see here in all these videos, primarily there are 8 touch points. Now these 8 touch points, one by one, in case if you see that the use voice assistants, then the search engines, then taking the online appointment, then Ola, Uber booking, leading to the doctor clinic, and then online report portal, then sending the recovery images, the doctor WhatsApp, and then follow your check, and then the medication through the online pharmacy. If you see here in one particular, all eight points, these are the primary sources of the digital marketing interventions for any of the company which is trying to reach out to these customers. So this digital marketing tool, as per the own need, patient, and also as per the need and convenience of the doctors, I think the pharmaceutical companies, they can target these 8 touch points, and I strongly feel and believe that they will be sorted also. So in marketing concept, we call this as the digital marketing, which is a combination of social media, mobile analytics, cloud, and IoT. And if you see here, the pharmaceutical companies, since we are talking about the number of platforms, it can be it can be the phone calls, it can be the social media, mobile, it can be the website, the remote visit, the face-to-face visit, the email marketing. So all these channels or tools or the platforms, we call it as the multi-channel marketing, but primarily it is up to the patient that which channel they would like to use. So in pharma marketing, we will say omni-channel marketing. And nowadays, especially after the onset of COVID, especially during the post-COVID period, the pharmaceutical companies, they are using omni-channel marketing a lot. And to a great extent, they are getting great amount of success also. Now, in this omni-channel marketing, the major advantages which the companies are getting is that it helps to integrate with the target audience through the channels which they prefer. It also increases the consumer engagement and the conversion rates, because these are the interactive mediums and the tools which the pharmaceutical companies are using, and they can set the dialogue with the customer or maybe with the consumer. Also, it helps them to reduce the target the customer acquisition cost, and also it helps them to go for the conversion. Simultaneously, it also helps to improve the pharmaceutical companies that in what way they can set the effective communication tools, whether it is your WhatsApp medium or it is some report which they are asking for through the websites or maybe through email marketing. They can send them what are the reports and the do's and don'ts they can use. It will also help to improve their brand performance once they are sharing with the patient that what can be the possible etiological factors, what are the precautions they need to take. It will help them to improve the company performance and the product performance. It will also help the companies to improve and measure the targeted and specific communication which they are looking forward. It will also help the doctors because all these communication tools in turn they are supporting the doctor also, and the doctor can also save their time, because if the communication is going in two-way manner, then the patient is already aware of, and if that particular communication is also shared with the doctor and from through doctor, it is routed if it is routed through the doctor going to the patient, then the doctor is also assured that the specific and the desired communication is going to the patient. So it will help in measuring the communication tools and the communication strategy. And because of this reason, the doctors as well as the pharmaceutical companies, they can have the loyal customers, which is going to help the company in a long way. All these things, in case if you see, there are various, because nowadays, especially after the COVID, the companies have worked a lot. So there are a lot many interactive there. And if the companies are interested, they can generate the interactive media at all those 8 points which we have just discussed. It can be not only the interactive media, simultaneously, if we are interested, we can use the computer mediated communication also. It totally depends upon that what type of investments the pharmaceutical company is willing to do or they have done. So this was all about the digital marketing interventions, which I hope that I have made my point simple, that how the digital marketing is going to help to the pharmaceutical companies. Over to you, Varvi.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a wonderful presentation. And I believe all of the audience must have learned a lot.
It actually showed, it was all written, though the sound was not there, but everything was written and it was very well elucidated, Dr. Sandeep. There are some issues with your bandwidth. So, sir, I will request you to please keep the video off And let us hear from you both, because that is causing concern here. Audio is not clear. But the presentation was awesome. You made it simple for all of us to understand where are the touch points, where all a company can create an intervention. Gauravi, please go ahead and ask the next questions.
So, Dr. Swati. Okay, so moving on, my next question would be for Ms. Sanju Yadav. Ma'am, since you have been in the CS and marketing department of this industry, patient centricity has been in discussion in pharma for years. And how do you see the current performance in this domain? If you can share something related to that.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the question, Gauravi. And we have had so many discussions around the same. It's a very pertinent question, and coming from the industry, it is actually a question of self-appraisal, right? To really rate yourself whether the industry has done justice to being patient-centric. So I would say that if you look at history, there is definitely a lot of discussion around patient centricity. We do understand the role or the place of the patient in the entire value chain. And it is really good that there is discussion. So the importance of the patient is definitely understood and accepted. Though if we look at the performance on really being patient-centric, I would say that the rating would be quite low still. And as Tanjul said earlier, the evolution of patient centricity, if you see, it is quite recent. And in terms of the marketing efforts, if we see how we have evolved, we have been largely a very disease-oriented industry. So from a disease orientation, we went to customer orientation, and then we need to go to patient orientation. So this whole, are you able to hear me? Yes, okay.
Audible.
Okay, great. So if you look at the communications, what we used to create in the past, all our visual aids, all our communication used to have all the disease forefront and trying to teach the doctor in terms of what the disease is and how the drug is going to act on those diseases. Then this whole talk about being customer centric came about, and then the whole visual changed. And in our communication, you could see the doctor now. So you could see that, the doctor is very important for us. You are important for us. So we are doing all of this to serve you so that you can serve your patient. So that was the line of communication, which was in the mid. And now, because, as I said, the importance of the patient is understood, you see a shift in communication. Now the patients are there in the communication. So there is patient profiling, but that is not really the core of patient centricity. And that is where we are missing. There is really a lack of, there's a lack of dialogue and a real understanding of the patient. So right now also, we are still looking at the patient journey, and the patient journey from treatment to diagnosis to, so right from identification to diagnosis to treatment to adherence. And we are still looking at the disease as the center point and not really the patient at the center point. And because there's no dialogue happening with the patient, there is no real understanding of what the patient is going through, what are the emotional, physical, social kind of, setup that the patient is in. And I'm sure there are challenges. I'm not saying it is a very easy route, but I think we are on the path, and there are some therapies where it is relatively easier to do it. There are some therapies where it is really difficult to really go into that whole thing. So you look at the categories, some categories are low involvement, some categories are high involvement. So all of those factors also play into role. But what is most important is the ownership of the organization, the ownership of the leadership of the organization to really keep the patient in the center and move the organization around that. So as I said, the rating right now is low, but the future is very hopeful.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely true. Thank you so much for wonderfully putting those thoughts. And we will move forward with the discussion with my next question directed to Dr. Sunil Kanvinde. So, would you please like to tell our audience what are the advancements in packaging systems to make them a little more patient friendly?
Yeah, thank you, madam. Thanks for your question. And I would request you to, can you please share the slide which I had shared with you?
Yes, sir, in a moment.
Yeah, so as discussed on the patient-centric approach, if I really have to look at the technical aspect of it, entire focus is on quality, safety, and efficacy. These are the three pillars, and what regulation believes or what industry believes is these three pillars are supported by approach, which is called as a risk-based approach. What is risk to the patient? It is not risk to any product or process, but ultimately it should be identified based on the risk to the patient. So based on this patient-centric approach, today when we design a particular dosage form or a particular molecule, we adopt the approach of quality by design. So this quality by design looks at what is the requirement of the patient. So dosage form is based on patient needs, therapeutic dosage regimen, and safety consideration. And these are some of the aspects which I will not go into the detail, but which will bring in the importance of packaging as an integral part of the product. So the development looks at packaging is an integral part of the product. We don't talk about product standalone, but packaging has to be integrated when we look at patient-centric approach. So can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. Now, second part which the regulation has come out with is very interesting, that they call it as a container closure system. It has to work like a system. So what are the guidelines from FDA? A container closure system refers to the sum of packaging components. So it is not standalone, some bottle or some blister or something, but it also includes primary packaging components and secondary packaging components, if the latter is intended to provide additional protection to the drug product. So it is expected to work with quality preservation over shelf life, has repeatability in usage, because if the container is going to be used multiple times, it has to establish its system efficacy by showing that there is a repeatability. And throughout this usage, it has to maintain the integrity. Now, again, this integrity is linked to the quality. And coupled with that, it has to also show the incidence of most important part of patient-centric approach, that is convenience and compliance. So to show this, I will give some examples how the packaging development has proceeded for this approach. So kindly go to the next slide. Yeah, I will show you some of the examples where the risk is covered along with convenience and compliance. So now this is a pack where there is some product which is for a particular therapy and for a particular age group. So to prevent any wrong usage, to avoid any risk or overcome any safety issues, if you see this pack is developed with two areas where the person has to push, and probably a particular age group will be able to understand this. So in order to remove the blister from the pack, there is provision for a particular area where you have to do the push, and it is further protected by two areas. So making it further difficult to remove it. So it prevents some misuse by children. So this is one example where the packaging development is aiding to a patient-centric approach. Next, please. Now, another area today, if you see, is really the concern is child-resistant packaging, because there is a lot of issues related to the molecules where the focus is more on developing potent molecules. Now, these potent molecules are molecules with narrow margin of safety how to safeguard this interest. So I have shown 3 blisters here. Now, first, if you see, general approach is by quality enhancement by metallic bag. So if you see, these pads are purely made out of aluminum, which is providing a barrier to moisture ingress inside the product. Now, if you see the first picture on the left side, the blister is peelable blister. So you cannot push the product through, but you have to peel the covering of the tablet or capsule in order to remove the tablet. Thereby, it is making difficult for children to remove. So this is one of the example of child-resistant pack. Now, what FDA is doing is before they give the permission, they evaluate the particular category and they insist that it should be a child-resistant pack. Now, even if this is not sufficient, there is a second level of protection which is shown on the right side. That is called peel and push blister. So you have to first peel the upper layer and then you have to push the product out. So that is providing additional protection for the safety of the patient. And overall, if you see, there is a combined development on all these packs, and it is called unit dose blister. So each individual blister is provided with a perforation. So when the patient wants to carry a tablet, because his dosage regimen is that he has taken one tablet before he moves out of his house, and he is expected to take it during the hours when he is outside the house, then he doesn't have to carry the entire blister, but he can take one blister because of the perforation, carry with him, and then take the dose when he's taking. So which is significantly increasing the compliance aspect of the approach to the patient. The next slide. Yeah, now I will go to the another dosage form which is coming up, and that is the bottle. Now, typically when we took any dosage form, we had long experience that we have to squeeze the bottle and then administer the dose. Now here if you see this pack, which is a nasal spray, there is a collar provided on the top, which is aiding the administration of the dosage. And again, I repeat the word container closure system. Now, what is the beauty of this system is, if you see, this is a 7 ml bottle. And in that 7 ml, there are 70 doses. So what the FDA expects is that you show the repeatability of this container, this dispensing system, that 70 times if you remove the dose, it will first of all give a same metered dose, because it is a very potent medication. Second feature of this is the collar which is provided for the spray is aiding ease of spray. So one person doesn't have to squeeze the bottle where there could be variation in pressure, or because of the age or because of certain medical condition, the person is not able to dispense the medication properly. So this is one of the significant advancement in dose delivery, which is coming to the aid of the patient in getting accurate dose for a severe condition. And even a small dose, 70 doses of a 7 ml. So you can imagine the quantity, and which is accurately administered to the patient for 70 times. So there is no variation in the dosage administered on all the occasions, and only after verification of this, where I mentioned risk, risk assessment is an important aspect by any FDA before giving the permission for such developments of packaging systems. So here what is evaluated is that every time the quantity of the metered dose which is coming out is actually qualitatively calculated, quantitatively calculated, and then only such dosage forms or such packaging systems are permitted for usage by the patient. And I would go to the next and last slide to give one more example, where the approach is another example. This is for geriatric patients. So if you see, the blisters are packed in a cardboard boxes, and on those cardboard boxes, if you see, there are mentioning of day and night, and also there are numbers. And another part of is that if you see the reverse of this cardboard box, then you will have all the details about the product, administration, storage conditions written in bigger fonts, so that the patient is able to read them without any disturbance. And even if he is aged patient, he is able to understand the instructions. And what is happening is that because the blister size is bigger, he is also able to handle the blister in a proper way. So this is one of the recent development for some potent drugs, and especially for geriatric patients who have difficulty in handling the patient product. So these kind of advancements which are done by the industry and which are supported by regulatory authorities, because they also incorporated various rules. What they have done is they have decided on what should be the font size of the letters, in what minimum font the instruction should be displayed on the pack, so that the person is able to read them and thereby have a better convenience and compliance. Next, please. These are another examples where you find that there is a brush at the beginning of the tip. So when you are applying it to the skin, a known quantity of solution will come out on the brush, and then it can be applied to the skin. The one on the left side shows a bottle where the person takes a dose and then he moves the knob. So he knows that he has taken one dose and 3 doses are pending. And then there are some packaging materials developed which glow in the dark. So it facilitates a patient to trace. Suppose he has placed the pack somewhere and is not able to see it, then he can readily, they are visible and they are traceable to the patient, and then there's a lot of convenience and prevention of any missing of any duration of treatment and increasing the compliance. So these are a few examples I just wanted to show you that how pharmaceutical industry is supporting a patient-centric approach by for various dosage. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful presentation, sir. Wonderfully explained and illustrated. Thank you so much. So now we'll move on with our discussion.
Before that, Gauravi, I really thank Dr. Sunil for showing all those slides, because these were means they are going on in the industry, and many of us are not aware where all interventions have been made. So thank you so much for illustrating them for the audience today.
Thank
In
you.
fact, one comment from my side,
Yes, sir.
Sunil sir showed us a peeled blister pack. I really do not know what could be the cause of it, but I think this is an excellent packing to prevent counterfeit drugs from coming into the market. I think apart from being child-proof, this is one more application which I see in this peel-proof packing.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yes, sir. Your comments are correct. This is also one of the measures for anti-counterfeit.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, Vivek, sir. Thank you, Dr. Swati. So we'll move on with the discussion with my next question directed for Dr. Sandeep Narula. Sir, can you please share with our audience about how personalized medicine will help in attaining patient centricity?
So here I will show you also that what actually, since you have talked about the personalized medicine, the main thing which I would like to inform you about the personalized medicine is it is quite simple, and even a layman also can easily understand what actually the personalized medicine is. Personalized medicine is also known as precision medicine, and also it is a medical model that separates people into different groups with respect to all the medical decisions, practices, interventions, or the products which we are trying to give to the individual patient based on the predicted response or the risk of the disease. And in this, what actually we would like to, I would like to explain you also that first one is phenotype. Now the phenotype is one thing which, and we as an individual human being, we all have got this phenotype. Now phenotype, it talks about that what is that which is there in my genes, and simultaneously what are my likes, dislikes, and all these things are there. So in human body there are two things, that is first is the phenotype and the second one is genotype, which talks about the genetics. Now, this precision medicine, primarily it focuses very clearly on both the aspects, that is phenotype as well as genotype. Now, in phenotype and genotype, whenever we try to identify with the help of computer, now since artificial intelligence is helping us a lot, so what we have done, since majority of the records now they are moving to the electronic media. So here the scientists who are dealing with genomics, what they are trying to do, they are trying to study the various medical records and they are trying to make a comparison of the phenotype and genotype, and there they are trying to understand the disorders. Because of this reason now, the scientists, they are in a better position to equip that in case if this type of behavioral disorder is there, then what is the type of the disease or for which the patient can land up after a period of time. So this phenotype combining with this genotype, because phenotype tells you about the behavioral aspects and the lifestyle of the patient, the genotype, it talks about the genetic aspect of the patient. Because of these two ends, the scientists, they are able to match and hence they are in a better position to stratify the need and the behavioral aspects of the patient. And that is what actually we are talking about, that what actually the medical decision practices and interventions can be. So here, in fact, in USA, there is a concept now which they have come up, which is known as iron triangle. Primarily, this iron triangle, it talks about that how the phenotype and genotype can be made accessible to the patients. It talks about the accessibility, it talks about the quality and the cost. Now, since we are in a position to identify and understand the specific disease, so here, in case if you see what we do in artificial intelligence, primarily we try to focus on the various behavioral aspects of the patient, that is the phenotype, combine it with the genotype through the help of deep machine learning tools, and then we try to develop a model, a treatment model for the patient. This is very beautifully explained in this book also by E. Topel, which is and the name of this book is Deep Medicine. So here, in case if you see in these slides, primarily what we are trying to say here is that every individual through phenotype, it is absolutely different. But what we do, we try to identify this gene sequencing, and through this gene sequencing, when it is matched with the behavioral disorders of the person, then the cluster is obtained, and these clusters are being targeted to the specific individual of the patients. And this helps the people to identify that the person who is there, to which medication the person is going to respond. Good number of chances that this red cluster is not going to respond to this blue cluster. So the medication which we are going to define and identify for red cluster of patient will be absolutely different with this blue cluster and this yellow cluster. So here, this medication which we are trying to give and develop to the people, it will be very specific, it will be very targeted, and hence because of this reason, the patients are going to respond faster, their recovery rate will be much more faster, and over a period of time, we are anticipating also, like Dell, what already they have done. They have gone for the mass customization. I am anticipating and I am expecting also that over a period of time, today the disease is purely customized, it is individual, where we are seeing that N is equal to 1. Over a period of time, if this Dell model is replicated in this genomics area also, I strongly feel and believe that the mass customization is not a distant reality for the people who are there in the pharma and in the medical business. So this is what actually we are anticipating in the days to come. The precision medicine is going to come. The precision medicine is exploring in the various branches also, along with the genomics. The people are also talking about the phenomics, then exposomics, then metabolomics, proteomics. All these things are there, and blood and here our own blood, our own blood samples are going to play are going to play a very important role. That how the biomarkers are going to come, and they are going to come to the rescue, and they will guide you towards what kind of medication the people is going to respond, whether it is allergic or non-allergic, and how it is going to come. So this is all about this precision medicine, which I thought that I would like to explain to the target audience. So over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for this wonderful presentation, and it is very beautifully explained. Okay. So now moving on, my next question would be for Dr. Sunil Kanvinde. Sir, apart from the marketing, what are the measures that can be taken to provide um, to provide better services to the patients, and what are the regulatory challenges in the new packaging system development?
See, I repeat what I told first of all. The approach for development, which is adopted by industry and which is also expected by the regulatory authorities, is design of packaging system is an integral part of product development. So you cannot develop a product in isolation and then look at the packaging system. So the approach starts right from the beginning. When the product is being developed, the quality by design approach also takes into consideration the packaging system. And secondly, it relates from plant to pharmacy. So can you just put my slide, please, so that I can correlate to what I explained. Next slide.
I hope the screen is
Yeah.
visible.
Thank you. It relates to plant to pharmacy, supply chain, and set of previous. So it relates to plant to pharmacy concept of supply chain and also set of variable environmental conditions. Because when we manufacture the product or we develop the product, we are in a very controlled environment, which can be defined at design state, that we want a particular humidity, we want a particular temperature, and we want a particular methodology of processing times, processing conditions. But that does not end here, because the product has to move. And as we are saying that India is the global pharmacy of the world, it simply means that the products which are manufactured in a particular place are going to travel miles together before they go to the customer. So here, how this is approached is, first of all, container closure system is considered to be specific to dosage form and also to the global supply location. So for this, how the approach is that the global supply location, that is the entire globe, is classified into 4 climatic zones. This is an initiative by regulatory authorities and also various world quality forums. So based on where is your point of supply, you readily know that your product is going to be in temperate climate, cold climate, humid climate, or hot climate. So when this classification of zone is known, you approach in development of your container closure system based on patient requirement and also dispensing practices. So what are dispensing practices? If you go to a market like US, the pharmacy typically gets a bulk container, of 1,000 tablets or 2,000 tablets. And then these are dispensed as per patient requirement into smaller bottles of 30 tablets or 60 tablets. So every time the bottle is opened and the tablets are dispensed, they get exposed. So this necessitates the use of various moisture absorbing substances like silica gel, protection from any distortion like cotton plugs are inserted or rayon plugs are inserted, so that to prevent any friability issues or breakage of tablets. So these dispensing practices play a very important role in also designing a container closure system. So this is one of the regulatory challenges. Now, control of regulation has 3 dimensions. One is the packaging practices. Second is safety, where I discussed and showed you some examples of child-resistant packaging. And third is what are the storage conditions in that particular country of supply. So control of regulation has to follow 2 guidelines. One is the country of manufacture and second is country of supply. So these things are also driving regulatory challenges. And safety related to misuse and overdose, where you have to control the quantity of a particular medication in a particular pack. where you will find that some countries will not allow multiple packs. Like in India, you get a blister pack. There are 10 tablets and there are 10 such blisters in one pack. But you will find countries asking only for one blister in one pack, so that the patient does not get more than one blister at a time, which can be easily regulated by the pharmacy. And also when you are giving packs like bottle packs, then what is the quantity of maximum number of tablets which can be added in that bottle packs, which is correlated to misuse, overdose, and also stability of that particular formulation. So when we design these particular aspects, it is essential to consider these multiple challenges, whereby you have to submit this data to the regulatory authorities, show sufficient data to establish quality, safety, and efficacy, which are repeatedly said by FDA that these three aspects you have to establish, and that is again based on risk assessment. So if you go to the next slide, I just wanted to show you some technical approaches where we talk about quality target product profile. So when we design this target product profile, we consider various aspects. Now in this, I will not repeat all the things, but if you look at, apart from dosage conditions or kinetics, there is a lot of importance given to areas like impurities. Like recently, we read about ranitidine having impurities and it created a lot of problems because of those impurities were found to be carcinogenic. So at earlier stage, only the impurities are given a lot of importance, that whether your design, whether your packaging system is contributing to this impurity. Because there are very important case studies where even the plastic bottles or the glass containers which are used for storage have leached into the product and have created impurities and safety concerns to the patient. So to that extent, this quality target product profile is analyzed at a development stage, and some CQAs, what is a critical quality attribute. So it is like assay, which is related to efficacy, impurities, which is related to safety. CU means content uniformity. You know, every dosage what is manufactured has got same content. It is again related to efficacy, and dissolution, because if the drug doesn't dissolve in the body when it is administered, then it is again related to efficacy. So this is the approach adopted by industry, and this is the approach expected by regulatory authorities for any marketing authorization. So this is in brief justifies what industry is making the effort and how regulatory authorities are also ensuring that it is targeted towards safety of the patient. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, Dr. Sunil, you are showing us also and speaking also, that is actually making it clear for every one of us to understand this better. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunil. And let me ask this next question quickly to Dr. Tanjul Saxena. Ma'am, if you can tell us what are the drivers of patient centricity in the pharma value chain?
Thank you for this question. And I am switching off my video because of the low bandwidth. I hope it's okay. And
Yeah,
am I audible? Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
So to be very honest, I have been very engagingly listening to the Gullivers in this panel. And this makes my task, which is a Lilliput task now. So amongst the Gullivers, the Lilliput is now able to very, easily capture everything that they have said and transform it into the vocabulary of the question asked. Honestly speaking, whatever we have talked about so far, everything is pointing out towards the drivers of patient centricity. But just to wrap it up in the sense of, talking about the drivers academically, because I come from an academic background. So like we heard Dr. Narula talking about the foundational factor of technology, rapidly advancing technology is one of the leading drivers, whether it is Internet of Things, or it is blockchain, it is artificial intelligence, or it is deep data mining. Everything is pointing out towards being the, one of the most important and most pragmatic driver of patient centricity. If we look at from the pharma company's point of view, which Sunil sir and Atulji have been, elaborating from the point of view of packaging, regulatory, etc. We should be we can always summarize it as, there's a paradigm shift now occurring from a focus on profit to one that considers how that profit is made and used. Also, the recognition that the industry needs to build trust with the providers and patients before it can become truly patient-centric and create additional societal value. Now, this paradigm shift is really very promising, and it is promising in the way of pointing out that the pharma sector is very serious about this patient centricity. It has emerged and it has now come to stay. I was very appreciative of Ms. Sanju's honest confession in the panel, saying that if we look at the status, it is not very encouraging. Agreed. But I would also, since I come from academia, I would like to point out certain things here. There have been a very focused group study, and some of the highlights of the study are very encouraging. For instance, it was found in the study that for clinical trials in particular, expected benefits, if the company is patient-centric, there's faster trial subject recruitment, there's improved subject retention, there's reduction in number of protocol amendments, there's lower cost and increased ease of study. Like Sunil sir pointed out, when we talk about design of drugs for a specific patient populations, such as children and the elderly, when he was talking about all those packaging, and taking care of, consideration, ease of swallowing, dosage frequency, combination drugs, and then, ease of taking out, ensuring that it is safe for children. So these actually improve the efficacy of the drugs, which further builds up the trust in the mind of consumers. That means it's just not increasing patient expectation, but also increasing patients' faith in the pharma company and not taking it as on the other side, but rather on being the same side. So gradually developing or the newly evolving new sites and models of care, new way pharma companies are new ways the pharma companies are approaching patients to include advocacy groups, support, involvement, patient advisory panels, social media, online engagement. So these are all pointing towards drivers of patient centricity, which are very promising and which really can give us a line of sight, which would be truly in the letter and spirit, bring patient centricity as the focal point for the pharma sector. So I guess I should stop here. And
Dr.
very good role is done.
Dr. Anjul and Dr. Sandeep and Ms. Sanju also, after listening to all, I have one question. Which would be the top driver? What do you think is the top driver for pharma to adopt patient centricity today? Because whatever we have heard from the last 2 days, it's all about tech driving the pharma to just, fasten its pace in its approach, any approach for that matter. Yes, Dr. Sandeep.
Yeah, here since we are working here with the pharma companies also, the first and foremost thing which is going to set the tone for the change is the leadership capability. Unless and until the pharma top leadership is not committed, today what these are saying, oh, COVID is over, ठीक है यार, normal है, so go back to the physical mode. So this is what actually the serious challenge is. And since unless and until the leadership is not committed, and that is the reason she is saying also, Sanju has also said that primarily the pharma is not so much open and keen today. Barring the top companies, in case if you see their commitment towards the digital infrastructure, it itself a huge cost. and still they are in the wait and watch mode. Let me see that how the multinational counterparts are doing, how much investment they are doing, and what type of ROI they are getting. And once all these things are there, then ultimately it will be the learning lessons for them, and based on this, then they will move forward.
Perfect. So, Dr. Sandeep, I agree with you. This is a pain point still discussed within the industry, outside the industry also, and at our forums also. And I completely agree that leadership and management has to come to terms with what has happened in the mobiles of the people. Means they themselves are using the mobiles, using technology, but they're not understanding that where pharma needs to adopt it quickly. So thank you for putting that point for us. Dr. Tanjul, would you like to add something, the top driver?
Actually speaking, the moment you put the question, the inner voice that came out was exactly this. It's the intention of the pharma companies, and with a very, very humble appreciation that the profits need to move in the right direction of understanding the patient at a DNA level. And we really cannot do away with not including patient in their own journeys. As Dr. Narula was pointing out towards the 8 touch points of the digital journey, not only the digital, but otherwise also the patient journey, every point, I think pharma needs to be very sincerely looking at their needs and including the voice of the patient. So I guess I stand by him.
Thank you, Dr. Tanjul. There's another very interesting question that has come up, but I'll first of all let Gauri conclude this faculty, and then I'll ask another question here. Yeah, over to you, Gauri. I think that's the last question for faculty panel today. Please.
Yes, Mr. Swati. The last question, but not the least, it's a very interesting one, is for Ms. Sanju. Ma'am, would you like to share what are the key challenges that we have to overcome in order to move forward with a patient-centric approach in pharma?
Yeah, so thank you. I think the discussion just moves ahead of what we've been just discussing. And my job has been made very easy by Dr. Tanjul, because she has spoken about the drivers, and Dr. Sandeep has also highlighted that one of the challenges is that leadership intention. So how I'd like to put this is that there are basically some external factors and there are internal factors which are major challenges as of now. In terms of the external factors, technology is one very, very important one, that we all understand technology, but the adoption is not very good in pharma. And moving towards precision medicine or using AI to really understand the patient voice. So right now the patient voice is not in the boardroom. So in the boardroom we talk about only profits and the disease and the treatment and all of that, but not the patient voice. So using technology to get the patient voice in the discussions in the office, that is one very big challenge. Number two would be to really understand the patient experience and keep that as the core outcome for which all of us are working. So if that is also, it comes, the whole discussion and the collaboration that is required for that will be across organization. So it will not be just a bandwidth of the marketing organization to really think about patients, but it will, really pass through all of the functions, right from the manufacturing to the delivery, sales, medical. So much better collaboration is required. And we saw examples of packaging where, the patient-centric packaging is being used. But if you see what actually happens, these are the feedbacks which comes from the marketing, then it is sent to the manufacturing, these ideas come, and then such packagings are introduced. An ideal way would be actually that if the patient voice is shared by everybody, so if everybody listens to the patient voice, then people can work in their domain to serve the patient. So the packaging department can themselves, because they understand the disease for which they are packing, they understand the patient who is suffering from the disease and how a packaging can help. So each department can really add so much value to that. So that is around use of technology. Then the second challenge I see externally is, of course, the lack of trust for the industry which is there, and it is really true because of the actions, and you hear about litigations, you hear about all those sinister plays which happens behind all these big decisions. So how will the public trust? And I think that's an area that really everybody has to work, because you're talking about patient who is a part of that public only, right? So that mistrust is very, very important to be worked at. Again, leadership would play a key role. And the regulatory environment, there is a huge fear of regulation, and that fear really stops innovation. So that is also something, of course, it is not as easy as, it is easier said than done, but a discussion across the organization around the challenges from regulatory policy and all of this, there are windows of opportunities which will definitely come out, which then, the people can work on. So these are the external factors. Internal factors still remains, number one is the mindset, to really get the patient voice in discussions. And for that, marketing team, sales team have to go and meet the patients. The medical team along, everybody has to really see the patient, understand the patient. As I said, it is easier for some therapies, more difficult for the other therapies. Mindset, ownership of the leadership, very important. Collaboration, very important. And I think one of the challenge which is there, why this is not happening, because the intention is there, but there is a difference between the the lip and the cup. And I think one of the challenge is that it is very difficult to link business results with all these efforts around patients. So all the patient-centric efforts, very difficult to link business results on a short to medium term. Long term, everybody understands, but then there are pressures and all of that. So I think this is a very, very big challenge, and that is why resources do not get allocated also for the work to be done around patient centricity from each of the departments. So I think these are the various challenges, external, internal, and if the company is really committed, of course we are moving ahead, but the pace can definitely be much better if more work is happening on this to combat these challenges. Thank you.
Wonderful. Sanju, actually you summed up everything what has been the talk of the town. Vivek, so your comments here, because you were listening to all of this, and what do you feel after hearing the faculty here?
I would like to echo what Dr. Sandeep has said, but I would like to be a little more vocal. Whereas in India, the leaders are basically the owners of an enterprise. Whether it's a CEO or whether it's a senior vice president or the executive vice president, they really don't have much say in the policy making. When Dr. Sandeep was talking about a change in leadership, talk about leadership, I would rather say a change in the mindset, the change in the mindsets of the entrepreneurs that is required. However, whatever be the intent of the CEO, whatever the intent of the senior vice president or the executive, but if the owner of the company, the owner of the enterprise, his mindset is still of the 1974 mode, this will never happen. Fortunately, what is happening in the multinational companies, they are getting their directions from the parents abroad, and that is why they are able to bring in some kind of centricity in today's marketing. But unfortunately, what I've seen about the multinational, many of the things they say on the websites, websites are beautiful, but when it comes to action, there is no magic. I'm sorry for being a little vocal, but since we are only 76 people left and we are all senior people, I thought I must open up.
Thank you, Vivek, sir. You have been vocal about it for the last 3 years that we have been doing this World Pharma Brand Managers Day online. And yes, thank you so much for emphasizing the need of the hour. If tech is not the force, then maybe doctors would be the force, but pharma industry is slowly changing. And if doctors ask for digital things, then again, pharma has to change as per the needs of their
point, yes,
yes,
we have to listen to the voice of the patients. We
Yes.
have to listen to the voice of the patients. And without boasting about the Pharma State Academy, let me say, for these 3 days, we have almost 32 interviews between the patients and our team. 32 interviews. But because of the paucity of time, maybe we'll be able to show hardly maybe 15 or 16 of them. But we have shown the way to the pharma industry. Sorry for being, a little, what I would say, boasting about myself or else boasting about Pharma State. Sorry, Swati, she doesn't like.
No, makes sense. You get your we are a platform of luminaries, esteemed members from academia and experts from industry, and what they feel that we echo. Dr. Amit, would you like to interact?
Okay, hi everyone, and as always, Pharma State Academy, thank you so much for holding this very, very relevant meeting. And at the outset, I'd like to congratulate all the speakers, including the ones from NMIMS. All of them were exceptionally good. And one special compliment to all of them. They really know how to make their slides, and they do not put their entire text matter on the slides, as most people in the pharma industry do. Okay, so I'm so glad that the future generation is ready for making proper presentations the way they are supposed to be made. Anyway, coming back to the main issue, Vivek sir, I completely agree with you. What is there on the website and the action at the ground level, there is no match. You're absolutely dead right. I just want to highlight one thing which unfortunately has not got highlighted. There are two types of pharma, patient-centric pharma companies. Those companies which have religiously followed Professor Mitra, which we started the session with, they are entirely pharma-centric. They are taking the data from the patient and making their marketing strategies absolutely flawless. They are pharma-centric, they are patient-centric. The other patient-centric is what we are concerned with. What Professor Mitra made the Indian pharma industry is not the patient-centric that we are talking about today. We are talking about giving something to the patient, not taking something from the patient. And that giving is in terms of good medicines, relevant medicines, not just another. I mean, we've got 20 ARVs, so we'll market all the 20 ARVs because the owner of the pharma company wants to make profit. That's a separate objective altogether. That's great. That is also very relevant, but that is not patient-centric. So relevant medicines, that is what I mean. Also good quality medicines. All this thing about e-commerce, that's fine. It's a great business opportunity. People will make money and it's a convenience to the thing. But the spuriousness of the drug is definitely not going to get resolved. And it's only going to get compounded for the simple reason that there's currently no regulatory mechanism to check the actual medicines which are being stocked and delivered by the e-commerce thing. So, I mean, I know the regulators are on the job and I'm sure something will come up eventually. But this one claim made by, I think, one of the students from NMIMS that, one thing associated with e-commerce is safer medicine. Sorry. It is safer right now only because e-commerce is 5% of the entire retail industry. Wait till it becomes 95%. Then you see the menace of spurious drugs. And that is why retail has that menace and e-commerce right now does not have that great a menace. So please do not be under the misconception that e-commerce and e-tailers are necessarily associated with safer drugs. And lastly, something that Swati has been alluding to yesterday also and today also, we have to give the patient in a language that he or she understands. And for that, we have to take it to the doctors first. We have to educate the doctors to talk the patient's language. He's too busy. He has his own language, which he's been talking for the last 30 years. He cannot change. He can only change if we help him to change. So all the communication to the doctors and then to the patient, that's a separate channel. Both have to be in a language that the patient understands and identifies with. So The only stumbling block, this is one of the questions you just asked, ma'am, there on the screen. What is the stumbling block for becoming patient-centric? There's only one. It's a mindset of the company owners. Otherwise, there is no stumbling block. Even 20 years back, 30 years back, when I entered the pharma industry, I could have made the company patient-centric without technology also. Technology definitely helps. I'm not saying technology is irrelevant. It is very relevant. It expedites things. But even 30 years back, 35 years back, we could have been patient-centric if we had really wanted to. So the want, the will, the mindset is all that is required for this. And please differentiate the two patient-centrics. It's not about collecting data from the prescription-based analysis. That is not what makes a company patient-centric. We already know what the patient wants. There's no rocket science there. And we have to deliver it as a pharma company. So I hope next 20 years, some changes will happen. All the best to all of you, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Dr. Amit. Very relevant points you have made. And yes, what patient expects, I would just within few seconds tell you, in the last day, a patient spoke about his expectation, and his expectation was getting a wonder drug for diabetes, which can be taken once in a day or once in a week. So that is the expectation today the population has from pharma, and I hope we live up to that. Mr. Amninder, you want to discuss something here?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone, and good to see the charming faces. Nice to meet Dr. Sandeep with face. So my question is, health technical assessment, the pharmacoeconomics, do you see that as patient centricity, and why pharma companies are not conducting those kind of studies, when it comes to health technical assessment? We have now Government of India HTA centers which are available, where exact economics of value is generated, whether this drug is beneficial or not. Hello, Swati, could you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Amninder. So you want to ask this question about the health economics?
Health technical assessment, yeah, health economic studies which are there. Why pharma companies are not conducting those studies, or why government is not insisting on that, whether a particular dosage strength or formulation is cost effective. For example, I give example in terms of oncology. Many times the vial is of 200 milligrams, out of which only 180 or 160 is utilized by the patient, because as per the dosage, 30 or 40 goes waste. So does it make sense to come up with a 200 milligram vial, or should we come up with multi-dose or a lower SKU vial which could save that much cost of medicine wastage? This is just one example. There are so many other examples in terms of dosage and other things which are there. So my question is, where is the will in terms of from the government to put it for health technical assessment studies for pharma?
Yeah. Would any panel member like to take it? Because Mr. Amninder, I think the person who would have taken Mr. Dr. Atul Nasa is not in the panel currently. Dr. Sandeep, would you like to say something?
This is where actually when the point when we were talking about the precision medicine. Now, since it is now the subject is just in the evolving stage, and the companies slowly and gradually they are trying to change their medical regime also. Since initially if we would like to serve, if we would like to serve the individual survey, then obviously it is going to be more costly as compared to the normal daily dosage which we would like to have. So here the companies have already started working on this, and I strongly feel and believe that it is just a matter of time only, because as I said that in the precision medicine, based on the body weight, based on the requirement, that how the stratification can be done and the dosage can be served. So since already I opted out and also I talked about the mass customization. So pharma industry is just in that particular stage only, and thanks to industry 4.0, where all these things are slowly and gradually they are falling in place. But it is going to take some time. We have already identified, we have already seen also that how much wastage is there, then how much out-of-pocket expenses the patient has to incur. And trust me, this breakage, expiry, and this loss of medication by all these factors is certainly is putting an extra burden on the common patient. And this is what actually the government of India is also trying to work out, that how the individual therapies can be passed on to the people. Slowly and gradually these things are going to come, but it is going to take its own time. It doesn't mean that the government and the policymakers, they are not aware of, or the pharma company is not aware of. They are already aware of, and they are also highly sensitive towards all these cost issues. But since it is a policy decision, and the government of India also, they need to take at the top level whether the single dose should also be allowed to pass on to the patient. So I think it is just a matter of time where the things are working out, and I strongly feel and believe that the things in the future, at least, we are going to see that the dosages are served in this manner.
Another question, just which is there is, in fact, 2 days back only it was there. Many companies are now coming up with higher number of tablets per strip. So like, from 10s they're going to 30s. Now, sir also, had commented on that. Do you consider this as a patient centricity, because the intent is that they will take the full 1 month course, or it is profit center because you're pushing 30 tablets at one go to the patient?
Vivek sir, I would like you to respond.
I'll give the same answer which
I know, sir.
When we talk about patient-centric packing, for example, azithromycin, till about a few years back, which first, when azithromycin was introduced in India, maybe about 20 or 25 years back, the pioneers, I don't know whether Sanju was there at that time, but the pioneers like Alembic, they came out with just 3 packs, 3 tablets in a strip, because the dose of azithromycin was just 1 tablet once a day for 3 days. And even today, PDA, Physician's Drug Reference, PDR, Physician's Drug Reference, says that in most of the infection, the dose of azithromycin is 1 tablet 3 times a day. When our pharma marketeers found that the drug is stagnating and there is no further scope for growth, how do I increase the sales? The pressure coming from the entrepreneur. How do I increase the sales? Simple. Change the strip of 3 into strip of 5 tablets. Now, what is the purpose of those 2 extra tablets? That is what Amananda says is totally profit-centered. But many years back, I think it was in the 74 or 75 when I just started my career, there was one hematinic for the gynec, for the women who were pregnant. It was called as prenatal capsules. Prenatal capsules was originally available in strips of 10s, but then they found out, the company found out that patient compliance, the ladies' compliance is very poor. So they introduced a pack of 120 tablets. That, I would say, was a bit of patient-centric because it ensured patient compliance. That's my take.
I totally agree. So in fact, I have another viewpoint. If a bulk pack comes at a discounted price, I think it is still a patient-centric. So if 5 tablets would have been economical, then buying 6 tablets, I think that is still, you can say, a centricity of patient economics is there. But yes, it is more perceived as profit center because you're trying to push more units to patient in the first, at every transaction.
Thank you, Mr. Amninder, for asking those questions, and thank you, Dr. Sandeep and Vivek sir, for answering those. We are receiving a lots of questions, majorly questions on the role of e-pharmacies, replacing pharmacies, replacing medical reps, and all those things. requesting you to please park those questions for a very relevant discussions later in this year. We will bring that to the fore as soon as some regulations are in place about that. And we will discuss it out vehemently during the session, as we always do. Let us thank our faculty panel members, Gauravi, and all the panelists who joined us today, and the team before we log off.